might just be communicating it incorrectly. If you're pitching ideas to clients, is it clear? It's usually in the idea. Something is just not connecting. I want to go to Hollywood and live the dream and become the next Steven Spielberg. And so I applied to film school. They said no. But there are things that you can do to save time. The first one is
social media superstar and author.
Well, I only tell young stars.
Zach King!
Zach King. Zach King.
Zach King.
Fifth most followed person on the entire platform.
I loaded my deck with all kinds of things that I've been learning over the last 17 years that I've been doing this. So let's just dive in. We have a lot to talk about. I loaded my deck with all kinds of things that I've been learning over the last 17 years that I've been doing this. So let's just dive in. You know, I don't know how many of you remember these stores. They were VHS stores. This is where I would get my DVDs as a kid and VHSs. And my parents got, when I was 3 years old, Jurassic Park. Have you all seen Jurassic Park, right? Every single version of them. So I don't know why my parents let me watch this, but this is actually footage that my dad took of me watching Jurassic Park when I was 3 years old. And I was freaking out, but it kind of instilled in me this amazing thought of like, whoa, that's like someone had to make that. And how do you do that? And then I ended up grabbing my parents' camera and trying to learn how to make movies. Now, I love my parents. They were awesome. But besides that video and a few other photos, they didn't capture much of my life. So this is the perfect time for me to do a talk because you guys, all that AI stuff is coming out. So I kind of recreated my life story using AI because I wanted to show you that I was a really cute kid growing up. Although this is fake. And I was homeschooled up in a farm in Oregon. Okay, this is just a regular version of me growing up. I grew up on an apple orchard, which was awesome because I had a ton of land to go around and make my movies. And like I told you, I took my parents' home video camera and I started filming all of these little creations that I was doing with my sisters. But I was really sad because their camera wasn't very good and I had no money to buy a better camera. So I ended up mowing a bunch of lawns. I went around all these neighbors and begged them to film their kids' weddings and any events. And then finally, I had enough money to save up for this camera, the Canon XL2. And I forced my sisters to make movies. I don't know why they're not happy. Let's make them happy. Okay. There, they loved filming with me because I was a great, awesome older brother, but they helped me make all my movies growing up. And when I was in high school, around the age of 16, I had figured, I want to go down to LA, right? I want to go to Hollywood and live the dream and become the next Steven Spielberg. And so I applied to film school. And sadly, I got a rejection letter. They said no. And I still got in my car. I flew down to Los Angeles because I was like, you know, I read in all those books, people say, don't, let no stop you. So I went down to school and I just snuck into the school. I sat in the back of the class. This is me sitting in the back of the classroom. I don't know why I'm so creepy back there, but I snuck in the back. But there was a big problem. And that problem was, even though I snuck in the back of the classroom and got away with it, there was still tuition money due. And I remember that little kid who had no money. Well, he's now just an older kid, an adult with no money, and he's still sad. So I end up having to do what I used to do, which is like, how do I figure out my version of mowing lawns at the time? And so I did all these jobs. Like I first thought of YouTube, and you couldn't make money at the time, but I was like, I could build an audience and then maybe eventually sell them something. So I figured I would teach them Final Cut Pro, I would teach editing, I would teach what I was learning in film school and just post it on YouTube. Again, this is 2007, 2008. There's no way to like monetize that. It was the Wild West. But I did start doing this. In my dorm room, I would make these DVD courses. And after I'd post a YouTube video, I'd say, hey, like I've got 10 hours of training on a DVD. If you want it, I'll send it to you for $50. And I did that, over and over. And throughout 4 years, that's how I ended up paying through film school. And I was racking in dough in the literal sense. Now, fast forward, I graduate and I go on this epic road trip. YouTube, this is 2011. For me, my channel just started monetizing, but I was only making about $1,000 a month on YouTube. So I go on this road trip, and as a YouTuber and a content creator, you guys all probably relate to the idea that you need to get all these videos in the can. You need to make a ton of work. So that's what this road trip was for me. But there's something kind of crazy happened. You remember that kid who was really sad because he had no money? Well, he's actually really excited now because he just got the job offer of a lifetime. And for me, that job offer was working at Discovery Channel. So on that road trip, I stopped in Washington, D.C., and a talent agent, a producer there said, hey, we would love to hire you for us. And I was intrigued because they were offering a $100,000 starting salary. And to that, poor little kid, that was like a ton of money. So I go through the interview process. It takes about a month and a half. And I'm in my last interview back in Los Angeles. And I meet with this person. And the interview went good. And at the very end, I don't know if you guys have done many job interviews, but at the end they say often, do you have any questions for me? And I thought, yeah, I actually do want to tell you like what I'm doing with YouTube. And I don't know why, I just kind of shared my heart of what I was learning on YouTube and why I was kind of torn between taking the job and doing YouTube. And then he says at the very end, like, you know what? I think you should do the YouTube thing because that may not always be there for you. The job will probably always be here and you can get a job anywhere you want, but you should try that. You're young, take a risk on yourself. And so it was very serendipitous, that meeting, but I ended up doing that. And I drove home, ended the YouTube thing, and I went on to this app called Vine because all of my roommates were on it at the time. So I noticed everyone in the bathroom was like doing these 6-second loops. And if you guys remember Vine, it was 6 seconds over and over and over. And all my roommates were like, hey, you should post on here because you're doing like special effects, and they have like a special effects category. So I started posting there, and it kind of exploded for me in a really cool way. But I wanted to break down the process for you because that maybe gives you a little context for, years later how I got here and I'm talking to you now. But over the years I've learned, and if you guys are content creators, there's a lot of things that you can do in your day-to-day creations that will actually help over and over the process and make it repeatable. I found myself as a young creator burning out over and over. Every 2 weeks, I'd make a video on Friday, and then I'd get frustrated because I was happy when I posted, but then by Friday afternoon, it's like, I have to make another video and go for another 2 weeks. And it gets exhausting. So I'm gonna share a little bit about my process and how we do this over and over and over for like 17 years now. It starts with ideation. I think you guys all know the classic brainstorm session. For us, we have two versions of doing creative. The first is what we call a brain dump. This is where we are just trying to dump as many ideas out as possible. Let's say I'm trying to make a fun concept about, I think this one was, Amazon came to us and they were like, how can you magically say Alexa takes you somewhere and transports you? So we just start putting like hundreds and hundreds. We'll do pages and pages of these. And there's these little blue dots on there I want you to pay attention to. This is called the pulse. So this is for my team and I, each person that's part of that creative session, they get kind of like a vote. It's not a popularity contest. It's just to say, I like that idea. Something resonates with me. So you'll put it on the concepts you like. And you'll notice one of them starts to stand out. And so we'll come back to that in a little bit. It says it'll take them underwater for scuba trip. So I want you to bookmark that. But the other way that we do creative is called a T-sheet. It's really simple. I think Duncan Wardle came up with this. It is essentially the title, and then you have an image, and then you have words. And that's because 35% of who are verbal learners will read that. So I don't know if you guys noticed, you probably read the text first. The other 65% of you looked at the image first and tried to figure out the story. So we'll do our pitch like that. Here's an example. I'm not going to read through it, but essentially our team, on a Monday, puts together a bunch of photos. They'll talk about this concept, which is they're trying to pitch about Dungeons and Dragons. Many of you maybe have played the game. But this idea didn't take off for a while because it was missing something. And we try to add what we call the 10% in this section. We're trying to figure out like what's going to make this way better than the idea that was pitched. And for us, we were like, well, Dungeons and Dragons has a huge online community. There's a YouTube channel. These guys have been going for 10 years. They're really well known in that community. So let's grab a few of them to be in the video. And also, we need like a really cool dragon. So we happen to find this Chinese company that makes these dragons for like way too much money. But they're really cool. We had them start making one. I'll show you a little bit of what it looks like here. There's actually a person inside of the dragon, which is cool because we try to do these effects for real when we can. But then we have the mock-up. And this is a crazy idea we ask the entire team to do every single Monday. It's, can you make your idea that you just pitched in 1 hour. And what we mean by that is we're looking for a really rough concept of this. This is
Your party is blocked
the
by the
mock-up
red dragon.
Whoa, dude.
for
that's
that
the
dragon
same
video.
model.
Whoa!
I'll skip through, but essentially we do a practice run that's like weeks before. We're just trying to see if we even like the idea. Then we'll shoot the raw video. I'll just play a quick clip of this and then we'll keep going through.
You descend the charred stone stairs right into the lair of Tyrannox the dragon.
That is the coolest model. Did you guys make that last enough years?
So you'll notice it starts to look really similar. That's an unfinished VFX video too, so you sneak peek. Again, I'm gonna show you the mock-up. We use this for everything that we make.
Light.
Okay, next.
Oh, yep.
Right this way.
Wish me luck.
You're reading for wizard number 3.
Coming to an end. If only I could harness the...
Anyways, you guys get the idea. It's a super important process for us, and if you guys ever are doing storyboards, maybe that's great for you. I was doing that for many years, but we don't do any more storyboards. We just make it on our phone and shoot it like that because it helps get to the final thing a little bit better. Everyone can see it clear. For post-production, this is a big part of my process. I'm going to walk you through kind of how we do the post-production all the way from the beginning. So what you're going to see here is the raw clip, no editing, just how it comes out of the camera. This is the guy, Josh Harmon. He's known on the internet. You probably have seen him for reacting to people's clips. But we wanted to do a fake video where it looks like he's reacting to my clip. And then this dinosaur, this giant green dinosaur is going to come alive.
Look out! Go! Go! Oh, go! Oh my God!
So it doesn't look like much yet because there's no editing. So then we have to start going through the editing. The first part is, okay, we have this big dinosaur. What's it going to look like? So we go through all these versions. We decide, we actually want it to look maybe like a Snapchat style. So we end up going with this. We place it in, that's kind of for sizing. Then we go through lighting references and texturing. How big is it? Is it the one on the left that's really big? Is it smaller so that maybe the icons in the UI on the platforms can be seen? This is a little bit closer to a final. Let's see this.
Hey, Josh, we gotta go!
So you can see the evolution of how that comes together. Yeah, that's a fun one. Shout out to, shout out just to my VFX team. They continue just to do amazing stuff. And sound design also brings it together. For us, this is a raw clip from a video. I'll just play a piece of it. You'll get the idea that there's no dialogue shot on set. It's usually pretty loud. People are shouting things. There's a bunch of cues. So then we go through the first pass.
Please take one candy. A happy Halloween. Hey, he's taking the candy. Hey, come back. Hey, you. Woohoo!
So fun. Okay, we have a lot to go through, so don't clap. So we're back at that original concept where the device takes Zach underwater for a scuba trip. So I want to bookmark what we do here with this concept is, again, the mock-up. I cannot stress, if you guys are a creator and you're like figuring out what's wrong in your creative process, try the mock-up. This works so well. It gets everyone clear on the same page because you can see here our producer is figuring out, we did the mock-ups. And again, I told you the prompt was that we're supposed to show how Alexa transports us somewhere. So we figured out we wanted to go underwater. But to go underwater, we tried to build a room and then flood it, but that costs a ton of money and flooding it is hard because you have to have so much water ready to go. We ended up figuring out how to do the illusion by making it look like it's flooding, but it's actually dropping into the water. And if you fix the camera, you'll see here to the set, it pulls it off like this. Let's see if that media is working. If not, you guys can, here's the final video. Not? Never mind. Okay, moving on. Good. This is great because we have a lot to go through here. So over the last 17 years, I've been figuring out these creative shortcuts, and I always kind of cringe personally when people start talking about shortcuts because I'm like, there's no shortcut to hard work and creativity and like that. But there are things that you can do to save time. So I figure, why not share what saves me a lot of time? The first one is whether you're creating with clients or you're creating for yourself or an audience, you're going to get a lot of no's, and you're just going to have to take that at face value for what that really means and figure out that there's an underlying problem. For me, I'll notice it's usually in the idea. Something is just not connecting in the idea, the timing of the idea. You maybe made this awesome video, but it posted at such a weird time in the context of the world. The pitch, if you're pitching ideas to clients, is it clear? Sometimes your idea in your head is super good and it's actually a great idea. You might just be communicating it incorrectly. So figure out how to make it clear. Pitch it to your friends, practice it. And who is it pitched to? This is the biggest one for all the clients that I've gone after over the years. I find out that I'm sitting in the wrong room or having the wrong general meeting because it's someone's assistant or someone guarding the gate, if you will. But you need to get to the right person. That's so important. And there's this ladder rule. Do you guys remember this, that years ago, someone made a video where they just carried a ladder into all these sporting events and got into like these massive arenas for free, but all you had to do was carry a ladder and people think you're doing something. So to me, that's the ladder rule. You know, they say curiosity kills the cat, but to me, the cat has 9 lives. And what I mean here is you should ask, I wonder if, over and over, and just fill in your own blank, and then pursue that question, and it takes you down a really fun rabbit trail. You know, back in the day, I wondered if I could make Final Cut Pro tutorials. Then I wondered if people would actually watch them. Then I wondered if they would sign up on my email list so I could sell them later. I wondered if they would buy them if I emailed them. You get the idea. You just go down that I wonder if, and keep asking your question, and then follow it up by executing. Because I think a lot of people wonder, but they don't actually try to see what would happen if they did that. A huge one for me over the years, finding your collaborators. My best friend Aaron is an example of one of my great collaborators early on in my career because he was across the dorm room from me and I would just share what I was learning on YouTube and he would share that too. I got this from my friend Terry, who has a quote where he says, whenever I learn something new, I try to tell you, and I ask you to do the same for me. And so me and Aaron and all my collaborators over the years have had that same tone. There's this famous proverb, African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This has been a big one for me. As a creator, I was like a single editor for years and years. And I encourage you guys, if you don't have collaborators or people, go find those people. Go to meetups, go around town and see who you can talk to. And now I have a full team of collaborators. Steal from others to pay for your education or to pay for your channel. Here's what I mean here. I got a job within my area of expertise. So I filmed weddings. I edited videos on laptops for people. I went to red carpet premieres and did the interviewing. I edited as a photojournalist, on and on. I was an extra in the background of a TV show. That's me right there. But you have to absolutely, especially if a brand comes up, use that opportunity to take that budget and don't worry about making money in the beginning. I would pour all that budget back into my film gear, on their sets, making their client experience awesome, just using that to learn. The other thing is, and I think one of the biggest things is looking for magic. There's these opportunities that you're going to see. I don't know if you just started content creating or you've been in it for 10 years. If you've been in it for maybe 10 years, you've seen a few different waves or cycles of things that are interesting, whether it's technology, like the phone just a couple 100 years ago, but now it's actually in our hand. That's an amazing one that affected me. In the future, it might be, AI for you guys. That seems like a big wave that's happening now. Final Cut Pro and the whole YouTube experience was a big one for me to create on that platform. One of the last ones I want to leave you with is developing your signature. And I think this is the most important thing that you can do as a creator. You have to develop your signature. And what I mean by that is when you come to my team, we go over what my signature is. If I were to ask you whose signature this is, most of you would probably say Picasso, even though this is just ChatGPT. But it goes to show how powerful his style and his signature was because they can recreate it and you can guess who it was. So Here's a few of mine. For my team, we try to set up an expectation and we try to break it. I don't think the videos are coming through, but that's okay. A surprise should be pleasant. You know, there's a lot of kind of surprises you could see on the internet that maybe are a prank or they're kind of jarring, but ours should be pleasant. It should make sense in the way that
What's going on? Whoa, too high! Too high!
they follow logic. So if you were to eat helium, it's naturally going to make you go upward. The character sees the world from the camera's perspective. This is a huge one. If you see my videos, you'll notice it takes place from the angle of the camera, and that's just an aesthetic of our style. We love the humor and physicality of Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, so we play into that a lot. You know, you should be ordinary with a twist of extraordinary. Basically, my character at the studio, we view me as like a regular character. He should look normal. He should dress normal, just like everyone else. But the one twist is the magic, and he solves the problem or tries to solve the problem with the magic. Irreverence. This is a big one. It should be funny. Our internal goal is to make a video that brand legal teams would say no to. So a video kind of like this.
Says in all of the East hour. And so this bread has no yeast. It was on the table when Jesus met with his disciples.
To us, a frame is worth 1,000 words. And if that's true, that means the opening shot of your video, the first thing that they're going to see scrolling, is like one of the most important things you can figure out how to do. So work on that. Essentially, it's kind of your thumbnail, right? And do it for real when possible. For us, we can tell the audience, especially in this day and age of AI, which is getting better and better every day and almost hard to distinguish, we still strive to shoot everything for real, because I believe that the audience, you guys, can absolutely tell in your mind. You just have this weird notion of knowing when it's real and when it's not. But thanks, guys, for hanging out with me today. I love all of you. I love Dubai. And the last thing I just wanted to leave you with is, you know, I love these conferences where you're learning about creativity, and you're going to walk away feeling like excited and then a low in the next week, right? Where you're like, now I have to do all this stuff, and where do I start? And I just want to remind you that it's a long journey, and if you love what you're doing and you're down to put in the years and years that it's going to take, it's going to be really fruitful for you. And I hope you leave here knowing, having peace, that it's just putting in the bricks over and over. There's no actual shortcut, but I love all of you, and I'll see you around. Take care.